Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 4 replays in the Tier 8 Tech Tree Chinese rocket boosted heavy tank, the BZ-166. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the BZ-166, it is the brand new Tech Tree Tier 8 for the new rocket booster line. You've just seen the rocket boost right there in action on the BZ-166. If you press left on the D-pad, it will let you activate this boost for 10 seconds, and you've got a 4-second cooldown in between all of the boosts. You had 3 boosts on the Tier 7, now you're at Tier 8, you get 4. It goes up by 1 for each tier you go up in this line. And what's the BZ-166 like? Well, I found it quite enjoyable, to be fair. It's one of those tanks that is a little bit hit and miss. Sometimes you go, ooh, I really like this, and sometimes, yeah, RNG says, absolutely not, I'm not hitting anything, and it gets a bit frustrating. The armour sometimes works quite well, and sometimes, again, it's a bit frustrating. I liken this tank to something similar like the 53 TP, where you got that 420 alpha, the gun hits hard, you don't really have the best DPM in the universe, but you have pretty good penetration. Your mobility is worse than that tank, though, unless you use the rocket booster. And, in terms of the armour, like I say, sometimes it's really quite nice, and sometimes it just says, absolutely not, I'm going to get penned all the time, which, you know, can be a bit frustrating, right? And with the turret front, you do have to be careful of the little lips under the turret as well, because if you're using your full gun depression, they can actually pen those as well. So this first replay, we are completely stock. Now, there's only going to be one replay where it's stock, and then there's not going to be a replay where it's just nearly upgraded like we normally do. We're just going to have 3 games where it's fully upgraded. And that's because the research path on this vehicle is quite weird. It has 1 gun the entire time. So this gun you're seeing here is the best gun you get on the tank and the only gun you get on the tank, which is actually quite nice. It means you're at full fighting capacity from the get-go, which is, that's quite good really, isn't it? You've also only got 4 upgrades, which is radio, turret, engine, tracks. And from stock, it wasn't too bad. It was just slow and sluggish and lacked a bit of view range, because you've got a 30 km/h top speed with a 13 km/h reverse speed. 550 horsepower engine is 10.49 horsepower per ton ratio, meaning this tank is extremely sluggish while stock. It really is. It's horrifically slow. Unless you boost with the rockets and you'll go up 45 kilometers an hour, and then you have some speed. But without it, yeah, you turn slowly with that 26 degrees a second on the hull rotation. You're really sluggish to get up to the top speed. Your ground resistances are 2.3, 1.57, and 1.01, which do affect the tank quite badly at this point. You've got 422 meters of view range, which means you struggle to spot for yourself as well. You are quite blind while stock and having the stock turret. You do have 31.62 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed, though, which is quicker than the tracks, and that is very nice. 1.22 accuracy during rotation is not great, though, and a 1.66 accuracy during movement is actually pretty decent with it fully kitted out with all the crew skills and perks on it. You got a 2.95 second aim time as well, which is pretty horrific. It means it takes a long time for this gun to aim in. The aim circle doesn't bloom out that much, but the aim time at 2.95 is pretty horrific. You do have the 10 degrees of gun depression, though, which is lovely, and means you are very, very flexible on a ridgeline, and makes you just very nice to use. But like I say, when you go hull down with the turret, be careful, because it has little angled section underneath the gun area that is actually, once you are fully using your gun depression, it actually makes it easier to pen in terms of the turret. It's actually stronger when you are on flat. You just got to be careful of people shooting your cupola. You have an 11.67 second reload with this stock build, which is 2.1k DPM, so just like the Tier 7, your DPM is pretty poor. You got 221 penetration on the standard AP, though, which is very, very nice. It means you are going to be able to pen pretty much everything at Tier 8. A lot of tanks at Tier 9, and if you need to pen Tier 9s and 10s that are strongly armoured, you can load 270 heat pen, which is very nice, and you will basically go through pretty much everything, except for maybe a mouse or a Type 5 heavy. You got 420 alpha, like mentioned earlier on, which is very nice. It means it hits that little bit harder, and when you do hit, you generally roll for between 400 and 440, which is great, because if you think if something's got 400, it's generally, they generally averagely go in between 380 and 420. So having that 400 to 440, and generally rolling from 420 to 430 to 410 on average more often, is definitely a very nice feature for this 122mm gun that you have on this vehicle. You got 1,000 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, which is average shell velocity. It's bang average on the shell velocity, which means you do have to give a decent amount of lead, but it can be a pain at distance to use this gun. But 1,000 meters a second isn't too bad. And you have 850 meters a second shell velocity on the heat rounds, which is below average, and you really do have to give a lot of lead to hit those shots in this tank. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on the old BZ-166? Well, I should say new 166. Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Trap Mechanic with Rapid Aim, the Advanced Loader, Gun Stabilizer, and Optics. Optics to be able to get up to 448 meters of view range when you get fully kitted out. The Gun Stabilizer to have the best accuracy during accuracy and movement, so that your aim circle doesn't bloom out too badly, which is why you also run all three of the gun perks, because this gun is derpy, so you really want to help it out as much as possible. And the Advanced Loader to get the best out of the DPM, because it is slow if you don't help it already, so you really want to help it out as much as possible. And then Rapid Aim, because the turret traverse is really slow on this vehicle, even fully upgraded, so I wanted to make it so it was better than the tracks, as it did irritate me, and I felt it did turn quickly enough on its stock and fully upgraded tracks. So as you can see, that first game, we finished with the victory, 4 kills, 4.4k damage, 599 assistance, the second class, the high caliber, the sniper medal, with 1772 base XP. A pretty nice game there for the BZ-166 on that map, which was Kasserine. And, yeah, we had a pretty decent game for a stock tank, realistically. But the next replay, we are now, like I say, fully upgraded. We've got the full shebang. And it doesn't take too long to get there. There's a lot of XP in terms of grinding through towards the top engine. But generally, it's one of those grinds where, because you're not unlocking like a second gun and a third gun and a third engine and a second engine, the grind on this tank is actually quite linear. And the fact that you get your top gun from stock, like you just have one gun, this is your gun you've got, and it's what you get from the get-go, is very, very nice, to be fair. And it means you don't have the pain of playing with a stock gun that is just horrific. Because you imagine playing with the 100mm from the last tank, right? Where you got 320 alpha, you got 195 pen, or even so, you end up having to do what some of the older grinds do, where they were playing with the 85mm, which was the stock gun on the last tank, and then you play with the 100mm, and then the 122. Like that, yeah, that could have been a thing, right? But instead, they just gave it this one gun, and thank you, just the way it is. It made it so much nicer to grind through. But yeah, we're fully upgraded now. So we have the top engine, which is 770 horsepower, and what a difference it makes. We're up to 14.53 horsepower per ton ratio, which means we get there. We get to 30 kilometers an hour top speed quite easily. We don't feel horrifically sluggish anymore. We're still slow, but we don't feel sluggish, which is quite nice. We've got the 28 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, which is still not the quickest in the universe, but it's also not terribly slow. It's just one of those that would be nice to maybe help a little bit, but because the turret traverse was also pretty slow, that's why I just helped out the turret traverse instead. The ground resistances have definitely got better. We've got down to 1.93, 1.29, and 0.92, so they don't hold the tank back in terms of getting up to that top speed and, you know, the ability of the tank to actually traverse left to right. We've got 448 meters of view range, which means we are now having the ability to actually spot for ourselves at the cap of 445. But it's still not good view range, which means we still get out-spotted all of the time in the BZ-166, which can be a little bit frustrating, quite honestly. We have got the 29.19 degrees a second turret rotation speed, which is faster than the tracks, so that's nice. 1.12 accuracy during rotation, with a 1.51 accuracy during movement. So again, the accuracy during rotation is really not that great, but the accuracy during movement is pretty good. And combined, when we're going full chat on the move, the aim circle isn't that badly bloomed out. And we have a 2.76 second aim time for when it does bloom out, which isn't great. And it does take a while. As you can see, we're just about to sit and wait to aim for this BZ-176, put the shot through the lower plate. But yeah, it can be a royal pain. And you do have 0.36 accuracy at 100 meters with this top turret, because as that does make a difference in terms of your accuracy. 0.36 accuracy is really not very good compared to what, you know, most other tanks get when they are fully kitted out. 0.36 isn't great, it's pretty derpy, and you will miss quite a few shots with this tank, which can be a little bit frustrating, just a little bit. We're up to 11.3 second reload as well, which is 2.2k DPM, which is only 100 and a bit better than the stock turret, which means, yeah, your DPM is still slow, which can be a bit frustrating with this tank. And it's just one of those ones where you got to really bear with it, as the DPM can tend to you just getting screwed over at times. Depending on what type of tanks you're facing, you'll sit there going, I just don't have the DPM, and they just come in screaming in and just wreck your face, which, again, it's one of the frustrations of the tank. The lack of DPM is definitely frustrating, and the speed of the vehicle once you run out of rocket boosts is also pretty frustrating as well. It's just really slow and sluggish without the rocket boosts. But yeah, that's the stats of the BZ-166 while it's fully upgraded. And this second game, we are currently up 2.4k damage, 266 assistance, and there's 3 tanks left. There's the heavy tank at D6, the Pantera on our right, and we get spotted and detected. And I was thinking, like, the Pantera couldn't have seen me there, right? And no, he couldn't have done. Now, I know there's a tank destroyer on my left, but I was not concerned about him because we already knew he'd missed. I wanted to get rid of the Pantera, but the gun said, absolutely not. I don't want you to pen, so I'm just going to miss. I knew that Ballsig was a big gun Ballsig, right? And the fact that his first shot missed and splashed like it did meant it was HE. So I was like, you know what? If you want to shoot me with HE Ballsig, do it. He did. He only splashed us for about 400. And we unfortunately couldn't get any more shots into the Pantera, who should have been dead, but we just got done by RNG, really. We finished the game with 1 kill, 2.9k damage, 911 assistance, the third class, with that 1339 base XP. A pretty average game there for the BZ-166 in a top tier matchup. But that was just a fairly average game for the tank, where it showed off the, you know, the armor sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. The gun handling says, ha! Yes, I will pen that. Absolutely not. Now I'm going to miss the shot that you really need to pen to be able to kill that tank. Which, yeah, that's the BZ-166 all over. It's one of those tanks that is very hit and miss. And I feel like it's probably going to be one of those vehicles that will also be pretty Marmite for people, where some will really like it because they'll love the alpha. The rocket boosters will be cool. They'll feel like they do alright hull down. And you feel like you can do stuff, you know, and you hit hard, your penetration's great, which means you don't really struggle to pen things unless accuracy says absolutely not, I'm going to hit a stupid place. And yeah, some people will love that, and other people will hate it because it is slow and, well, it's not sluggish really, it is slow without the rocket boosters. 30 kilometers an hour is slow. You sit there going, come on, I want to get to my top speed, please, right? That's what it feels like. But then you've got the rocket boosters on top, for which you've got 4 uses of, and you can get up to your 45 kilometers an hour fairly easily. But then your gun says, absolutely not, I'm just going to miss all the shots you're going to take. And people will hate it for that sort of thing as well. And the gun will be a frustrating point for a lot of people. It is a frustration point for me, where I don't feel like I can trust it. And that can be a problem when you play a tank, because that means sometimes you hesitate on taking shots, and sometimes you take that extra second that you might not do with other tanks to make sure that you're guaranteeing your aim and guaranteeing it's fully aimed to be able to make the most of the shot, as you sit there going, well, if I don't do this, it's just going to miss, right? You know, it's one of those tanks. Kind of like the Defender does that, to be fair. The 53 TP also does that. I like the 53 TP, but the gun just says no a lot of the time. You sit there going, come on, 53 TP, right? And it is one of those tanks that I do feel like that tank is very, very similar to this, with the low DPM, with the gun accuracy, with the way that it plays in terms of its armor. It's just a little bit more mobile, naturally. But you do have the ability to boost over the gaps in this tank that 53 TP just can't do, right? But the 53 TP goes at 40 kph as standard, whereas this only goes at 30. And you can hit 45 limitedly with the rocket boosters when you press left on the D-pad. When you do use the rocket boosters, if you've seen though, you can't turn very well. And if you want, one of the key things with these rocket boosters is if you activate them and you want to turn while you're using them, you will not turn very quickly. If you're trying to turn around a corner with these rocket boosters active, it's just not going to happen. If you want to turn, use your handbrake. The moment you handbrake, it'll stop on track and you'll be able to swing whichever way you tell the tank to go, and that will help you turn. So we've loaded heat because I wanted to go for the cupola of the VK101P. And with the AP at 221 pen, I'm not actually really going to pen a VK101P unless I hit the lower plate. So I loaded the heat rounds, and that meant we actually got to go through the turret of the Tiger 2. We went for the RBRT on the back of the other BZ, and RNG said no. No, no, nopity, nope, nippity dim, nip, nope, 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 nope. Absolutely not, I'm going to miss the shot. Or should I say, it got absorbed by his rockets. Thanks, RNG. Love you very much. So we fully aimed the shot into his lower plate of the VK this time. We're up to 2.5k damage, and I'm thinking, you know what? Rocket boost! And we RBRT onto him, or we RB on, and can we get the RT? Yes, we can. We finish off the VK101P. That was a bit of a dodgy shot, to be honest. That could have quite easily bounced, but there we go. We've now got a Conqueror in front of us, who is very stocked. Poor Conqueror. And we're making sure the shot is fully aimed into his lower plate. Switch back to AP because we no longer need heat rounds, and we're just going to wait on the reload. Hopefully we get another shot into this Conqueror, and this is where the slow DPM can be a bit of a hindrance for the vehicle, because you sit there going, come on, come on, come on, come on, I want to shoot it, I want to shoot it. But we did manage to get a shot into the Conqueror, which is good. We've got the artillery to potentially get a shot in, but the standard B finishes them off. There's 3 tanks left, and we know where they probably are. They're probably in the town. In fact, there's one. One just shot at us, so we know it's down there. Aiming, aiming, aiming. Shot flies true in the Dragon. That was quite lucky there that actually hit because, well, like I say, this gun is very derpy and it likes missing. But we hit the shot there, so we'll take it. The standard B gets shut down by the Barask, and that means we've only got 1 tank left on the enemy vehicle. It's Mr. Campy Panzer himself, Campy Panzer 50T, in that top section at A9. And the Barbarian Horde approaches as it charges after Mr. Kampfpanzer. I don't think it's going to end very well, but he's making a valiant last stand here. I thought he'd be dead already, but the medium tanks are finally starting to close in, and, well, the hit points are going to start to evaporate as the whole team is here ready. But, yeah, the BZ-166, let's say it's very hit and miss, but it is pretty enjoyable. It's just that 420 Alpha. That is what is so nice about it. And the gun sounds super satisfying as well. It's definitely doesn't sound like a 122mm gun. It sounds like a 152. But it's just the Alpha slaps. And when you can keep putting the shots down range, it is quite nice for that. I've finished the game with the 1 kill, 3.9k damage. The second class with the 1523 base XP. A pretty good game in there for the tank in a tier 9 lobby on Hidden Village. And that was the sort of map as well where it's quite nice to have the rocket boosters, because when you've got little gaps where you really need to make it across each gap without taking a hit, it can be very nice to have them for that sort of scenario. But we're on to the 4th and final replay of this video. And this time we are on Overlord. We're in a very tier 9 game. And what we want to do is go to the position at DE9, because we can go hull down there, try and put some shots into some people. And if anyone gets spotted camping along the K-line, we can also do that. But again, it's one of those things that if you have nobody spotting when you push through, it can be a bit frustrating to take on the tank destroyers that do camp along the K-line back row, because they can basically shoot at you with impunity and you will never spot them, which can be a bit frustrating, realistically. So, they haven't really sent anyone this way. What tends to happen is you have quite a few heavies brawling in this location, nice and hull down, and then you progress the fight either way, whoever wins it. But it can be a bit frustrating playing this line when nobody really comes this way, because this is where the tank destroyers become more prevalent. Because nothing fights in front of us, so we've got no hull down brawling gameplay going off. There's just stuff that could shoot you from the back. So we're 6th sense and detected right now. So we're spotted and detected, which meant that there was always something at the back shooting at us that we just could not see, because it was the only thing that could have been looking at us, I should say, from back there. And there it is. It's a Conway. We put a shot into the Conway after we got a nice shot into the Batchat 12T earlier on. Mr. Roswell is out in the open, so we're hoping to aim at his lower plate, get the shot in if we can, and it flies through. 359. Bit of a low roll, that. 359, that's quite the low roll. I think we had that in the last game as well. But we're aiming at the lower plate of the UDES-16. Sometimes you never know what it is, though, when you're rolling for that, because some people do run armor angling, so that does reduce your damage by 5%, same as running advanced armor as well. And that's the problem with something like armor angling and advanced armor, because you can be rolling for 350, 360 consistently against someone, and we're going, RNG's just screwing me, but realistically, someone could be reducing the amount of damage you're putting into them by 10%. You just have absolutely no idea. Which is why advanced armor and armor angling aren't ideal in terms of the way that they do it. They shouldn't be hidden RNG. They should be like just a HP boost or something like that. So that you know what you're dealing with, not just I'm shooting this and I feel like the game, you know, it adds a what I'm trying to say is it adds a frustration point, right? Advanced armor and armor angling, where you sit there going, just thinking the game is absolutely screwing you, but realistically it's because that tank has actually got a hidden RNG based perk and equipment thing that is just screwing you over. But yeah, you never know. But I digress. We're on this map on Overlord so far with the 2060 damage. We've managed to get a nice few shots into the people along the back as they're getting spotted. A VKB manages to get a shot into our lower plate from F6, which means we're now a one-shot. And once again, this game, you've seen the trials and tribulations of this gun and armor, where the armor sometimes goes, yeah, I'll just bounce a shot or two. And sometimes the armor just goes, yeah, no, I'm just going to miss. Sorry, mate. I'm just gonna get penned. I don't work now. You may be hull down, but I don't work. And the gun just goes, yeah, I'm just gonna miss as well. So the Mantis kills my friend. He's got 2 shots left, which means he could kill me. But he bounces. In fact, he's only got 1 shot left. He bounces, and I think, okay, I'm gonna boost rockets, see if I can get in close enough to ram. But sadly, nah, it doesn't happen. We put a shot into the back of the Mantis, which puts him down to a 1 shot, which is perfect. It means that once he's reloaded, because he's going to reload before we ever get a chance to get another shot at him. Once he's reloaded, if he decides to YOLO to try and get shots into us, we already know he's a 1-shot and we can kill him, which is great. We're up to 2.8k damage, hoping to kill the Mantis, but the VK... Well, we get detected there without going after the VKB, without poking over the ridgeline, so I feel like there's something else that's possibly looking at us. But we are just watching this Mantis in the hope that we get the shot. The 1390 is going in on him, though, so I think, yes, you're going to kill him. He's a 1-shot for him. But sadly, he misses 2 of the shots and then bugs out. We go for the RBRT into the Mantis, which I knew was safe to do because the VKB had already fired. The Mantis fires on the moves and misses, which means he's only got 1 shot left. We go for the RBRT, and we finish him off. We're up to 2.9k damage. And I want to try and get this VKB now, which means we've really got to watch to see if he's ever going to fire. Like we did when we poked over to fire at the Mantis, we already knew he'd fired. So the 1390 is running interference, so we aim at the turret side there with our heat rounds loaded of the VKB, penning that shot, because again, the AP rounds are never really going to pen the front of a VKB, so the heat rounds are the only opportunity for us to guarantee do it. We go for the back of the turret, though, as he's turning to try and shoot the 1390. And we get rid of him. We're up to 3.6k damage with 600 blocked, 60 HP in a dream, and there's only 3 tanks left on the enemy team. Heavy tank down at B3, TL1 LPC that was down on our left where that building was, so we're just being a little bit hesitant when we use that final rocket boost because I didn't want to just YOLO over the ridge and then find a TL1 LPC. But sadly for us, we're not going to get any damage on TL1 LPC because he killed the stockade as he dived off the cliff. Fair play to him. But he unfortunately also killed himself, so we actually didn't get any more damage on him. But we know where the E75 is, so we're aiming up for the side of the E75. Sod's Law, just bad time. We can't quite find the shot on him. Hoping he might give us the shot, though, into his rear, which he does. Up to 382 damage roll on that guy. He's now a 1-shot because he takes a shot from down below as well. Waiting on the reload, hoping to possibly find his lower plate while side scraping out. There it is. Thankfully, it flies true. No derpy gun this time. And we finished the game with a decent total there in a Tier 9 game on Overlord with the victory. 3 kills, 4.3k damage, 1659 base XP. Really nice game there for the BZ-166 on Overlord with that second class. And yeah, that's the BZ-166. Like I say, the armor on it works on and off. The gun handling can be pretty derpy. The mobility is slow, but you've got that nice rocket booster. And generally, it can be quite a satisfying tank to play, especially when it goes well. But it can also be a pretty frustrating tank because of the slow mobility, slow DPM, and the gun just saying, absolutely not, I'm going to miss all the shots. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success!